outdoors since I was 11 years old. So I did those little happenings books. I don't know if you remember the coupon books that you get like to all the little local places when I was like 11. And then my cousin comes along and he's like, hey, I got this thing. We're going to go paint curbs. And you spray it, takes you like 10 minutes. You make 15, 20 bucks. I was like, I'm in. And so I go out and start painting curbs. Then I moved to California and I was like, hey, can I like start my own curb franchise? Like, are you going to be cool with that? And I'm like, so I'm like 14. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. He's 16 or something. And he's like, you can have the rights to California. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I had a little bit more class than most roofers that leave Three Kings. You know what I mean? So anyway, it happened to me in high school because I had like 11 of my buddies working for me at this point. So I started managing really young. So I had to learn some tough lessons when I was little where I recruited my buddies. And then like after a year of painting curbs, he like ran some numbers. He's like, it's $15. I'm getting paid $7 to do these curbs. And I give the rest to Sam. And then he goes and buys some stencils for like $60. And he goes and starts his own curb thing. And then I'm having to have a hard conversation. I'm like, bro, you didn't ask me for the rights to Fresno? And so what I'm going to talk about today is this thing called the box. Anybody ridden a bull in here? Could you ride a bull? I can figure it out. I like this answer. Raise your hand if you could not ride a bull in here.
I wouldn't ride a bull.
Okay, so hold on. You raised your hand. Why'd you raise your hand? I wouldn't. There's the difference. Let me I'm demonstrating the box real quick. Okay? So many of us, we raise our hand and we're like, I can't ride the bull, but we're actually stuck in a preconceived, predetermined thought process. We label ourselves based on a few things. What are some of the things we label ourselves based on? Let me give you an example. I am a roofer. I am a mother. I am not smart. I am smart. Some of you guys were labeled the smart kid. Some of you guys, not the smart kid. Raise your hand to be that one. Come on, be honest. Ladies, man, the smoozer. Okay. We go through life learning these labels. Some of them were like, ew, get this off of me. And some of them were like, yeah, I am the ladies' man. But the problem is it starts to trap us a little bit. And so it's about how do we start unwinding this box. And I call this the practice of awareness or unlearning. Who's in a financial box right now, maybe? They seem to not be able to get over a 6-figure hump, a 7-figure hump, whatever that number is. You're a waiter. No, you made more money than this. You do, yeah, you make more money now than you did a waiter. I hope so. Give him a round of applause. He did it. He upgraded. Yes. How long? What's your name? How long were you a waiter? Perfect. Okay, I love this example. Why do I love where I'm going with this example? 26 years, he was like, I do this. It would have been weird had you not done the waiting thing, right? He was practically in the movie waiting, wasn't he? He was the dude in the back. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? So he was a waiter. And then what happened for you to want to be like, inconsistency? So you got into roofing? Where God plays a factor? Like the best of the best, right, is going to make X. But he's like, I'm a waiter. And he labeled himself that. Then he's like, I'm sick of this. I'm going to do something drastic. We're going to get into something even more inconsistent. We'll call it roofing. And how long have you been doing this? A little over a year. And you made more money substantially or just a little bit more? Substantially. Do you feel like you've reached your limit in this? Not at all. What had to change? Let's break down the steps. So step one, what had to change? Something had to happen. And there had to be a substantial enough awareness where he got fed up, or a boss, or something has to happen. So for him, he's like, something has to happen for me to get out of this box, or else I'm never going to get out of this box. I'm going to be in the same cycle. So guess what? You jumped into another box. Yay, Scott. And you didn't even realize it. Because guess what happens in this after about a year, Scott? Let me break it to you. I've been doing this my whole life. And we start flying at this elevation. Does that make sense? Because I'm now labeling myself as, hey, I've hit the $70,000 mark. I'm paying my bills. I'm getting out of debt. I'm good. So then I said, hey, did you see more potential? And he's like, of course, because guess how much is the potential in roofing? I got a guy training some roofers next week. He did 18.9 personal sales 2 years ago. So is there more out there for you to get? Absolutely. So why doesn't everybody in this effing room do it? That's the real question. What's the difference with the guy banging 18.9 million, doing 560 something individual contracts? What's that difference of that guy and the guy doing 700,000? So we're going to break it into 3 components. But the first thing is awareness, okay? So I'm going to run 2 trainings in parallel, so stay with me if this gets confusing. First one was awareness. Second one is a desire, right? He had to have this desire to be like, okay, I need something different. And then the third thing is he had to take action, right? Then he steps into another box. He has a desire, he does a thing, then you get into this altitude where you start hitting ego, complacency. The 2 killers of real breakthrough is ego and complacency. And what I want to do is speak to all y'all and say, how do we unwind that? Has anybody done the DISC profile, the human design, the Myers-Briggs, the wealth dynamics, the strengths finder, the color code? I start to understand, I said, the first way for us to identify boxes is to say, okay, we can take all these profiles and they're going to kind of tell us a description of like where we fit and how we operate, and we can write our own user manuals of like how we do things, how we make decisions, how we buy things, how we think about things, what our fears might be, what our best roles on teams might be, what our best occupations might be. So when you kind of break down and start to find yourself, instead of look around for all the imposters' wants, imposters' labels, all the preconceived religious, parental, all of the things that we grow up thinking, and we unwind all that. Any religious people, it's like we are sons and daughters of kings. Now you kind of go into saying, if we have all this almighty, we're heirs, we're sons and daughters of kings and queens, then it's like, what's our passion? Now, some of you guys that raise your hand, if you were as a kid, like, when I grow up, I want to be a roofer. Come on. Is anybody in here be like, I'm stoked and passionate about knocking on doors? You think I was like, I'm going to grow up and be the dude teaching people to knock on doors? No, dude, Stockton and Malone, bro. I was NBA all day. And then I was 5'10". Some little white guy. Yeah, it didn't work out. Now you get to say, what's the story? So the biggest problem that people have is they get stuck in, we'll call this like a story loop. Anybody feel like they're almost on a hamster wheel in life? It's like they go and then they're like loop back, and then they go and then they loop back. And it's like income, relationship-wise, you find these same patterns. The reason is because you're writing the stories of tomorrow with the pencils of yesterday. The simple formula when it comes to finance, like I'm talking like if you're trying to say, I want to go make $1 million. The question is, can you start writing the story of $1 million earner with the pencil of the $1 million earner? So I'm going to move to the second phase if you're open to it and challenge it, okay? So the first thing is I said, what do you want? And I'm going to pick as the coach, and I'm going to say, because I believe in life, everybody could use some coaching. 6 figures is a very, very vague number. What's the number? 500, okay. So if you made 490, what if it was 376? 232? What am I doing? Gotta have some specificity. The problem is it's an imposter's want. It's based on what he feels like everybody wants to hear and what your family wants to hear and what you should be saying instead of what's really you. So let's pick that number. That you feel like, not me, not them, not your sister. If you were to write it on a paper and never tell anybody and just be like, that number I feel good about. It's my number. What is it? 5. Cool. 250 roofs to make $500,000. So now you have to sell 250 roofs. How many months left in the year? 8 months, let's say. How many is that a month? 40. How many a week? 10. How many a day? 2. Is 2 a day unrealistic? Has anyone done more than 2 in one day? Lots of people. Now the question is, how do we find the consistent rhythm to do that? So then we're going to move into seek, which we'll call that the path, okay? P stands for potential. Do you have the potential to do it? We all agreed yes. Next one, the A in the path stands for what are the action steps. So we kind of broke that down. So how many doors does it take for you to get one deal right now? Cool, I have to talk to 20 people. So therefore, can you talk to 40 people a day to get 2 roofs? The next thing would be the team. What's the team required for him to go do so? Yeah, he's got to have some ride or die guys that are like, who's doing 250 with me? Anybody in here with him? Some of you guys are going to be lobsters in the bucket, just being like, well, you're just overachieving. You're just like making us look bad because I didn't go out this week. My first day, I came in, and I'll tell you, there's a goal board. And I go up, and I show up day 1. It was here in Dallas, Texas. My very first summer selling. I'm 18 years old. I shipped out of high school. And they say, how many did you get, Sam? And I go, 5. What does everybody do? Who's the new guy? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? I didn't know it was good. So they domesticated me. So I said, what's normal for a rookie? And they're like, if you could get 1 a day, that would be phenomenal. So what I want to teach you right now is 500,000 is completely normal in some offices. And what I want to teach you right now also is you're the one that gets to put yourself in a box of saying, it's going to take me 3 months to figure it out because I did 5 my very, very, very first day. Guess how many I did the next week? 5. Sucked. I did 1 a day, and then on Saturday I bageled, and I was like, ah! They domesticated me. Like that. It was a mental shift. Did I know how to sell? No. Did I even know what the thing was? No. Had nothing to do with knowledge. It had everything to do with what? I believed. 80% of this. It's not the little tactical things you read in the book. I promise you guys, it is all right here. And then the last one is, what's the habits? If I gave you $500,000 right now, and I got it in the bank, I could literally write you a check right now. But I said under one contingency, you have to talk to 40 people every single day. No excuse. No be like, my foot hurts, it's raining, it's blah. You have to talk to 40 people every day. Would you do it? But I will ask you for that check back with 10% interest the day you miss it. One day you miss it, you have to write it back with interest. Would you take me up on that deal? How many of y'all would take me up on that deal? I did this bet for a company, but I said only one door, not 40. I said every single person in this room, I bet you to knock one door by 2 o'clock. And I put some wager on it. And I said, put me in your group meet. I want to see selfies by 2, and I'm going to count every effing selfie every day for 1 week. That's it. Not a year, 1 week. By Wednesday, they'd failed. Did it to another company. By Thursday, they'd failed. You want to know how to be really successful? Is you trust yourself. When you say, I'm going to do this thing, you effing do it. That's how you build self-trust. So don't say you're going to do shit and then not do it. That's how you build distrust. And then the last thing is you got to just knock. Because every opportunity lies right behind the door. And if you're sitting there thinking it's just going to show up, and you don't sit there and you go talk to those 40 damn people, it's not going to show up. And if I don't leave you with one little thing here today, is I think everybody here is a little stuck in a little box. And if you start writing and saying, let's not be sloppy with the pen, and start being really meticulous, because the exercise you really should be doing is I ran a marathon by June 1st. I had a 6-pack by December 1st. I bought my 100 acres by June 2nd, 2024, because you guys are being sloppy with how you're writing it. Knowledge doesn't make any sense. Financial freedom, debt-free, when you don't even know how much debt you have, doesn't make shit. Stop being sloppy with the pen and start being really specific, because the universe aligns with what you design.